This is the one need in our wife's life where they want to feel secure with us as often as we would like to engage in sex with them.
Right.
So if we can get that in mind, that this is a consistent, ongoing need in our life, and if we keep meeting it, it makes everything else work better.
And it's you and me, babe, whatever comes. Knowing bigger hands are holding ours, and the greatest days are ahead of us. Growing in love, learning to be a better us.
Hi, welcome to A Better Us, and welcome to our home.
I think it's safe to say that when we all got married, the possibility of one day getting a divorce wasn't even on our radar.
I mean, we committed till death do us part, right?
So here's the question: why do so many couples get divorced? And maybe even a better question is, how can we prevent it?
What if we were to tell you that there are 4 behaviors in a marriage that are predictors of a relationship that is likely to fail?
Leading marriage researcher Dr. John Gottman calls them the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And he is able to predict with 90% accuracy whether a couple will eventually divorce simply by observing their behavior toward each other.
Today, Dr. Mike is on the beach, and he's talking about one of those horsemen called contempt.
You're probably wondering what the other 3 are, and we will get into that when we're in the kitchen chatting over coffee with our kitchen couples.
We have CFL football legend Mike Penball Clemens and his wife Diane, and youth and children's pastors Eric and Kara Means.
Also, in the second half of the program, it's just the guys of A Better Us in a segment we call The Huddle. With the help of relationship expert Bill Farrell, we'll learn insights about what our wives need most from us.
Stay with us. This is going to be good.
Contempt is something that happens in your marriage that is incredibly destructive. As a matter of fact, the research indicates that someone that has entered like the realm of contemptuous behavior towards their spouse is highly, highly at risk for divorce. So we need to understand what this contempt thing really is and how we can address it in our marriage. So I'll start by talking to you just about what contempt is. Contempt is really when you start to create a culture in your marriage where you're consistently putting your spouse down or just speaking towards them with scorn. It happens when you feel or act superior, or you put yourself kind of I'm at a higher plane than my spouse is, or you talk from this condescending period of authority or with this attitude like I'm better or smarter or neater or cleaner or more punctual or whatever. That is contempt. If you've not done that to your spouse, my hunch is you know someone, one of your friends, one of your family members who has. Now, contempt is birthed from a negative habit of mind in which you literally start to scan the environment in your marriage, and rather than looking for what you can appreciate about your spouse and what you can appreciate about what they do, you're looking specifically for your partner's mistakes. So what does contempt look like? Well, sarcasm, cynicism, name-calling, eye-rolling. We all seen that, right? Sneering, mocking people. And here's something that I think happens all the time in many marriages: hostile humor. You ever see somebody that is, they bear the brunt of their spouse's humor all the time? That is contempt. That's what we're talking about. Now, it doesn't really matter what form contempt takes in your marriage. Whatever form it takes, it is poisonous, and it's virtually impossible to resolve a problem when your partner is getting the message that essentially you're disgusted with them. So inevitably, contempt is going to lead to more and more conflict. Now, the interesting thing about contempt is underneath contempt is a desire or a need or a want. There's something inside of you that needs something, and you become contemptuous because over time that need's just not met. The good news is there's something you can do to address this. The quick fix for contempt is to basically just start to talk about what you need. Use those I statements. You ever heard a counselor talk about something like that? I need this from you. That's very, very, very helpful to kind of start to get rid of this in your relationship. The long-term fix for contempt is to build literally a culture that is full of appreciation. And as you build that culture of appreciation, pretty soon you have the antidote for contempt taking place right there in your marriage. When you feel valued and appreciated, you're way less likely to have that contemptuous attitude towards your spouse. Now, how are we going to do that? I'm going to give you just 3 quick things you can do to build that culture of appreciation. Number 1, express appreciation verbally. I appreciate what you do when I walk in the door. You give me this kiss and this hug every day. That feels awesome. Thank you. Another thing you can do, you can express thanks specifically. Thank you for what you did for our kids today. That was pretty amazing. That you're an awesome parent. And finally, the third thing, try hard to express fondness and admiration for your spouse whenever you can. I'm so proud to have you as my wife. I'm just so proud of you as my husband. Last night when we were at that party and we were sitting down to dinner, I was just glad you were by my side. Focus on building a culture of appreciation in your marriage and crush the power of contempt forever.
Well, Dr. Mike, good stuff on contempt. It's kind of the kind of thing you think, wow, I don't want to have that in my marriage. But sometimes it just happens, and you look back and you think, probably shouldn't be doing that.
You know what? You get into unhealthy habits in marriage. Oh, Mike and Diane, Eric and Kara. I didn't mean to say unhealthy habits and look at you guys. I was just kind of, no. But it just happens. You know, the habits start, and before you know it, you've got this little this humor that can be hurtful, or the eye rolling, or the sarcasm.
Yeah.
Sarcasm. It's easy to slip into sarcasm, and you don't even realize how hurtful that can be.
And probably the world's leading marriage researcher, Dr. John Gottman of the Gottman Institute, he identified these 4 horsemen of the apocalypse he calls, because when these behaviors are exhibited in your marriage, you know the end is near.
Or could be near.
Could be near.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
And one of those is this contempt idea. And so we got to take it seriously and just kind of examine ourselves
And
and
the
our
other
motives,
4,
attitudes.
just in case you're wondering what the other 4 of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse would be, there would be, what are they?
Kind of criticism, defensiveness,
contempt,
and stonewalling.
Yeah.
Along with contempt.
You can Google it and find out more about that. But today we're talking about contempt because it is so hurtful in a marriage.
You know, it kind of starts innocently sometimes. You know, you kind of say a joke and you get a laugh out of it. And what we find, though, you know, especially as a guy who grew up as an only child, right? You have to learn as an only child. You have to learn how to have a team point of view, a team mindset, because you can have that individual. And what happens in a lot of times is I get a laugh. It's funny, and so now I'm trying to get the laugh rather than building the relationship.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Good.
That's a good point.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so easy to, it's probably because of our pride. You know, generally we are prideful people, and if we say something that cuts someone else in a weird way, we think it builds us up.
Or it makes us look intelligent. Hey, we were really smart to think of it that way, and you know. But at the same time, we don't realize we're actually tearing apart this closest relationship on planet Earth that we should have, aside from what we have with God, is our spouse, and we're sacrificing so much just to get that laugh, or just to get that elevated, you know. Ooh, look at him.
Just to build yourself up.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Seriously.
It's not just good news, it's God news too, right? Because when God made Adam, it wasn't done. He says, I need to do something to complete you, right? And so we were
Give you a
made to be
helpmate.
together.
Yeah.
That's
Yes,
right.
absolutely.
That's right.
And the first key, too, I think, is recognizing it and figuring out how you can help that in your marriage. And
talking about it.
Seriously, I saw this quote on Instagram once, and it says that define your season so you can determine your rhythm. So maybe you feel like you're in a season where maybe that's been creeping up a little too much, or you're starting to notice it.
Yeah.
But maybe you need to define your season. Maybe this is a season where we're going to work on that. Just like Dr. Mike said, a season of building a culture of appreciation to kind of counteract that. And then what is your rhythm in your marriage, and adding those easy steps that he said on how you can build that culture of appreciation, verbally saying it.
Yeah, I liked how he said, he says build a culture of appreciation, but then he like specifies saying express thanks specifically as well. And when you walk into that room, like you go and hug your wife. You go say, I'm just so thankful that I'm with you.
And maybe it's a painful season, but just adding 1 or 2 of those, just starting off slowly and then working it into your everyday rhythm with you and your spouse.
I like that.
Yeah, when you,
Yes.
absolutely. When you, I know someone who was, it's very hurtful, and it rips you apart when someone is on you all the time, and they're tearing you down, and they're tearing you down. It just rips up your self-esteem. It takes everything away from the marriage, and it can totally destroy the marriage. I've seen it, firsthand, and it's a horrible thing to have to go through.
It is.
It's bad enough when it's just the two of you, but then if that happens in front of others as well, like you're at a party or something, and you think your spouse does something, kind of dumb. You say, "Oh, smart move, Einstein." That kind of a sarcasm, and so everyone kind of laughs. But then, how does that make her or you feel?
Yeah, and if your spouse comes to you and says, "You know what, hon, what they were talking about on that show about contempt, I really feel like that's something that we're struggling with, and I really want us," you have to kind of swallow your pride and say, "Okay, even if you don't feel it, if you don't see it, if your spouse sees it, other people see it."
Absolutely.
And it's already done its damage. And so we need to kind of swallow our pride and say, "Okay, let's talk about this. I want us to be better. And so, let's walk this out."
That's right.
Great challenge for all of us because it's so easy. I can see things that I need to work on, and we probably all can because it's easy to slip into this because you're so close because you live life together, and so. But it is poison. You got to watch that poison and try to build, as Dr. Mike said, that culture of appreciation.
Yeah. All right.
Well, thanks, guys.
Yeah, let's
Stay with us. More to come, and it's actually going to be just the guys are going to be in a huddle segment for the second half. So, guys.
But we girls are going to listen in. You're going to listen in, okay? So don't you go anywhere.
You and I need to feel like we're successful in our marriage. Our wives need to feel like they're secure in the marriage. And when the needs get met, there is a line of trust in marriage that when those needs are met, you rise above that line of trust, and everything in marriage is easy at that point. If those needs are not met, you go below the line of trust, and everything is an issue in marriage.
We are here with just the guys of A Better Us in a segment we call The Huddle. Here we are, guys. We've got Eric Maines, we've got Dan McCauley, we've got Mike Pinball Clemens, and also joining us is Bill Farrell. Bill, relationship expert, author of over 40 books, and we've had some great teaching with you and your wife Pam on A Better Us previously, but I want to talk about where we are right now. It's a very unique location. It's Tim Hortons Field in Hamilton, Ontario. And this also houses the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. And if we were to just walk down the hall over here, you would see a bronze head of pinball sitting there. And so
It's a terrible thing, right? Because it is so fitting that it's all guys here today, right? And because we have this bronze head down the hall. And what I mean by that is, well, we guys here, and we take all the credit, right? And that's what that bronze head does. Like it was 11 other guys doing more work than I was on every play that I played. Yes.
Well, it's a pretty good likeness of you, though, Pinball.
Life size.
Yeah, that's great.
Selfies with you.
Yep.
Yes.
So we took selfies with
Life
you that you didn't even know.
And the rest of us, we all want to get ahead, right? In life. We all want to become a better us. So the huddle. Now, the idea of the huddle is that guys kind of get their heads together and they strategize in ways to kind of move the ball down the field. And in our marriages, we want to do that too. And so we're gonna chat a little bit about some different things when we have the huddle. And from time to time, you'll see a segment on A Better Us with the huddle, and we'll kind of let the ladies listen in on what happens in the huddle. But one of the things, and Bill, I'm going to have you kind of do the kickoff here,
Okay.
because at the stadium, you start things off. You got to have the kickoff.
Yeah, you do.
And but this probably if there was a book on what men understand about women, it'd be pretty thin.
Yeah.
I've heard it said.
It's a pamphlet.
And pamphlet, and the few pages in it would probably be blank. Now you've tried to help us out with some books like Men Are Like Waffles, Women Are Like Spaghetti, and things like that.
Yep.
But help us get some understanding. In the one area that seems to be a big thing for our wives is this idea of security.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, help us kick things off, and we want to get into the huddle here.
So it's been my experience, guys, that most men who get married, we think we're marrying a buddy who looks way better than all of our guy friends. And then we
do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that not the case?
It's not a high bar necessarily.
And then we get married and we realize we married a woman. And one of the most obvious things in the Bible is in Ephesians 5, which is a premier passage on marriage in the Bible. Men and women are given different instructions. It's just really obvious. And the question we ought to ask is, why does God give different instructions to us men than he does to the women? Yeah. And the instruction we're given is to love our wives the way Christ loves the church, and it's further described as we're supposed to nurture and cherish her. Now, I don't know last time you sat around a group of guys and said, hey guys, let's nurture and cherish. Like it's not the way we tend to think, but it's aimed at the primary need in our wife's life. And because of these primary needs, like you and I need to feel like we're successful in our marriage. Our wives need to feel like they're secure in the marriage. And when the needs get met, there is a line of trust in marriage that when those needs are met, you rise above that line of trust, and everything in marriage is easy at that point. If those needs are not met, you go below the line of trust, and everything is an issue in marriage. And this security need in our wives is not something we tend to think about much. And the best way I know to describe it is our wives are asking a question every day of their life. It comes in lots of different forms, but it's the same question. The question is it safe to be who I am today around you? And it's based on the fact that her life's always changing. You know, they have a gift we don't have that causes monthly changes in their life. And so their life's always in flux. And if I were to illustrate it with Pam, there are days that Pam is the most reasonable person I've ever met. Like, I'm amazed on those days. I can bring up any topic. We can go anywhere in conversation. Yeah. There's other days that everything is so intense and fired up. And then there's other days she's just relaxed and laid back. And then there's a few days in our home that there's a no-fly zone. Oh. And I don't bring up anything on those days. The only thing I ask her is, you want flour or chocolates? And smart. And it creates this need for her to ask, is it okay to be who I am today around you? And see, we don't tend to think safety because, like, for us, we're on an adventure. We're looking for something aggressive to do, and we know safety is an issue because you have to be alive to live your adventure. But for them, it's an everyday, pervasive need. And as men, I have discovered with Pam that if I meet the security need first, everything beyond that goes well. And I even had a business conversation with Pam, and I said, Pam, this is not personal, it's just business. And she said, well, it's all personal to me. And as men, if we can speak that language, we're going to find our wives a lot easier to live with and a lot easier to love. Wow. So my question for you guys is, one, how have you seen that play out in your relationship, and what have you been able to do to help meet this security need in our wife's life that's constant? It's every day, it's all the time, and they want to know, I'm still safe with you.
It's really interesting, that line, because I'm thinking as you're saying that, I'm thinking of times where it seems like I have a lot of leeway and everything's pretty good, and other times the opposite, and I've never been able to quite put my finger on it. I have realized that I'm okay for whatever reason now, but now it actually shines some light on what's going on and behind the scenes. Isn't there.
That funny?
Yeah.
Like, I've noticed above the line of trust, you can bring up anything, and she goes, oh yeah, and she's very easy to work with. Yeah. Below the line of trust, you walk in the door and say, hi honey, and she's like, what do you mean by that?
What did you just say to me? Excuse me?
You're talking to me?
I don't know, sometimes, I like to think God just sort of maybe gave it to me, but it could have been just dumb luck, right? but right at the beginning of our relationship, when we were dating, the very first thing I said to her is that, listen, the most important thing to me is trust. right? I need to know that I trust. So if you ever, deviate from our relationship, it's over, right? It's done, and I won't be upset because you're worth the risk, right? So it's not anything that's going to be, I'm going to no. But you need to know that it's over. That's it, right? And because loyalty, trust is really important to me. And on our first wedding anniversary, I came up with this idea at dinner. And every year we rate our marriage from 1 to 10, right? We talk about what's good, what's not so good. And so I've done a lot of not so good things in marriage, right? But I think that was one of the checkpoints, and I didn't really know what I was doing at the time, Bill, right? But I've managed to stay above the trust line, so that we usually don't struggle in that area a lot.
That's good.
Yeah.
Now, I'd be curious, you guys, all of you, how important are compliments to your wife?
Oh, very.
Because this tends to feed into this.
Kara and I have only been married for just over 4 years now, and I'm slowly learning all of these mega needs that there are the mega needs that only God can fulfill, but there are also needs that are on me. And so I've been learning that compliments and gift giving and then gift receiving, and Kara and I read the whole 5 Love Languages book, and so we're trying to figure out where we fit in there and everything too. But for us, in this mega need of security, I'd say the first 2 years of our marriage, I was focusing on, I want to make sure she feels heard, and so that I'm listening to her. And I failed at that because I would listen to her and I would just shut my mouth and then be like, oh wow, that must be hard for you today, type thing. But then I would try to fix it by saying, you know what, I'm going to do more of this. Like for instance, I'm going to remember to do the laundry. Well, and you can kind of take a break then. This week I'm going to do that, but then I wouldn't follow through with it. And I forgot about that. And then that would leave her feeling insecure with the trust. Can I trust him? Is he going to follow through with his actions? And that was the first 2 years. And the next 2 years, we're in our 4th year. I am getting better. She is way better at thinking of things to do, like initiating it, saying, you know what, it's laundry time, I'm going to do laundry. And I take a little bit longer to get there. And so when it comes to me doing things for her to make her feel secure, it has become a thing where she would remind me saying, hey, you said you'd do this. Can you do this for me? And what I'm working on right now is to actually be intentional about initiating promises that I've already made. And so to help her feel secure.
I've heard a stat that women have at least 11 negative thoughts about themselves every day.
Yes.
So there's kind of the self-talk going on, and they're kind of beating themselves up. And how much more do they need the at least 2 or 3 times more than that of positive, especially from the most important person in their life to them, their husband. And so I try to be intentional about giving compliments, giving words of encouragement to Anne, and she really lights up when I do that this is great. She loves that, because it's that need for security. And another question that is kind of like they have needing answered every day is the kind of question, well, would you really marry me all over again if you could do it again? And what can we say in our words and actions that answer that question for her? It makes a huge difference.
And to put it in perspective, this is the one need in our wife's life where they want to feel secure with us as often as we would like to engage in sex with them.
Right.
So if we can get that in mind, that this is a consistent, ongoing need in her life, and if we keep meeting it, it makes everything else work better.
Right.
But as guys, we just want the transaction. Look, I told you I love you, you're safe with me, can we settle this?
Yeah.
And it's never settled, it's always ongoing.
You talked about how relationships or how women evolve specifically and kind of change it. And we kind of started off by saying, hey, I maybe did 1 or 2 good things. About a year and a half ago, Diane went through a phase where she kind of felt a little insecurity, like not being connected, like I wasn't communicating. So I'm the first guy to say I love you. right? So, to the kids, the girls, and everybody. But you know, and so you kind of get into that habit of doing things. But what I wasn't doing is, and it never really mattered before, right? You know, you work, you go do what you do. Like, I don't know what you're doing when you leave. Like, this has never happened before. Like, yeah, I'm working. I'm going and doing it. Yeah, because we do a lot of different things on every different day. We have a foundation. We speak. We do things are different every day, and that was never really important to her. And I'm like, I'm confused. and so I think for us as guys, when we find something that works, we stick with it. Right? Yeah. It's good to have a little change up every now and then to make sure that we stay fresh as well.
That's good advice.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, this is good stuff. So this is a good huddle. Hey, so and I hope you know, the guys watching had been part of the huddle here kind of take away that importance of security for your wives. Just go out of your way. Maybe it's coming out of your comfort zone and maybe swallowing some pride, because sometimes you think, oh, you know, why should I compliment her, or you're upset or you don't feel like it, but don't go by feelings. Go by what you know is important, what she needs as that most important person in your life. And as you said, how would Christ treat the church? You know, love your wives as Christ loved the church. That's sacrificial. That's unconditional. That's not based on emotions. And so there we have it, the huddle. And so, guys, how do you usually end the huddle? Is it like a 1, 2, 3 break, or
ready,
just
break.
ready break?
Right.
Okay, let's do the ready break. Ready?
Yeah.
Ready break. Okay, thanks for joining us.
Hey friends, Ron and Ann here. We're so glad you're with us at A Better Us, and we pray your marriage is blessed as you take this in.
Be sure and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and enjoy this video.
Been a great show, and it was enlightening to eavesdrop on you guys at the huddle and hear what you talk about in there.
You like that, did you? Mm-hmm. It was a lot of fun to get our heads together as guys and talk about something that's really important in our marriage, like our wives.
Mm-hmm. I loved hearing the different insights from everybody, especially the fact that you talked about one of our greatest needs as wives, security. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we just need assurance that we're okay. You know, sure, storms come, but can we survive the storm? Mm-hmm. Thanks for that reassurance.
You're welcome. And also, Dr. Mike talked about the dangerous attitude of contempt in marriage, which, when you think about it, is really actually acting out of a deep sense of insecurity.
Mm-hmm. I guess when you look at it that way, we do all have a deep need for security. And we've discovered that the best, secure, solid rock foundation for our life and our marriage is a personal relationship with God through Jesus.
Only He can make us truly secure and give us the kind of inner peace that we need, which then spills out over into all our relationships, especially this most important one of marriage.
Mm-hmm. If you're thinking that kind of security is exactly what we need, can I invite you to call our prayer line?
The number's on your screen, and someone on this end would love to introduce you to the only one who can truly fill that need, Jesus.
You won't regret it. Thanks again for stopping by, and remember, with God, there is always hope to become a better us.
Hey friends, we really hope you're enjoying the marriage conversations here with A Better Us on our YouTube channel.
We have hundreds of more helpful marriage videos designed to give you hope and tools to make your marriage better.
You can see just a few options we think you might like here and here.
Enjoy! Oh, and make sure you subscribe by clicking here so you don't miss out on all the great marriage help we have coming your way soon.